Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and underestimated coins in American history, the Liberty 1 cent 1967, a coin that many people overlook but collectors quietly search for because under the right conditions this small copper masterpiece can be worth an astonishing $779,371 in today's market. And that number alone should make you check every 1967 penny you own, because what looks like an ordinary coin could actually be a life-changing asset. The 1967 Liberty 1 cent was struck during a very important period in United States coinage history when the nation was facing coin shortages and the government was under pressure to increase production, and during this time the United States Mint removed mint marks from coins between 1965 and 1967 to discourage collectors from hoarding freshly minted pieces, which makes the 1967 cent unique because unlike many other years you will not find a mint mark on it, yet this detail adds to its historical importance and mystery. The coin features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and this design became the longest-running portrait in U.S. coin history, while the reverse of the 1967 cent displays the classic Lincoln Memorial, a design that was introduced in 1959 and remained until 2008, making the 1967 version part of a historic era that represents strength, unity, and American resilience during the turbulent 1960s. The Liberty inscription across the front, along with the bold date 1967, captures a moment in time when America was experiencing social change, economic shifts, and technological advancement, and every coin minted that year passed through countless hands, purchasing everyday items, traveling across states, and quietly becoming part of personal stories and national history. Most 1967 pennies were struck in a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them that rich reddish tone collectors love, and while billions were produced, only a tiny fraction survive today in pristine, uncirculated condition, and it is those rare high-grade examples graded MS-67 or higher that can command extraordinary prices at auction, especially when they exhibit full red luster, sharp strike details, and absolutely no visible imperfections. Even more exciting are error varieties from 1967, including double die obverse, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and coins struck on experimental or transitional planchets, and these mint errors are where serious money enters the picture because collectors are willing to pay massive premiums for unique pieces that tell a different story from the standard circulation coin. Imagine discovering that your simple 1967 cent has strong doubling in the lettering or date, or perhaps an off-metal strike that was never meant to leave the mint. That is when an ordinary 1 cent coin transforms into a collector's dream and potentially reaches values approaching or exceeding $779,371 depending on rarity, condition, and demand. The market for rare Lincoln cents has grown dramatically over the past decade as investors seek tangible assets with historical backing, and the 1967 issue has gained attention not because of low mintage numbers but because high-grade survivors are incredibly scarce due to heavy circulation during the coin shortage era, meaning most examples show wear, scratches, or dull surfaces, making flawless coins extraordinarily rare. Auction records show that when a superb gem example appears with blazing red surfaces and exceptional eye appeal, competitive bidding can drive prices to breathtaking levels, and that is why professional grading services play such a critical role in authenticating and preserving these coins, ensuring buyers have confidence in their investment. The beauty of the 1967 Liberty 1 cent lies in the fact that it represents both accessibility and opportunity. Almost everyone has seen one, millions may still be sitting in jars, drawers, and piggy banks across America and even around the world, yet very few people realize that within those common pennies could be an elite rarity worth a fortune. Collectors carefully examine strike sharpness in Lincoln's hair, the clarity of the lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust, and the fine lines of the Lincoln Memorial columns on the reverse, because these tiny details separate an average circulated coin worth a few cents from a museum-quality specimen worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Market demand continues to be driven by passionate numismatists, historical enthusiasts, and investors who recognize that rare coins combine art, history, and scarcity in one small metallic package, and as inflation rises and traditional investments fluctuate, tangible collectibles like high-grade Lincoln cents become increasingly attractive. the story of the 1967 Liberty 1 cent reminds us that value is not always obvious. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for knowledge and careful observation to reveal it, and that is exactly why at Rare U.S. Coins we encourage you to never underestimate your pocket change, because history proves that extraordinary treasures can be found in the most ordinary places. If you own a 1967 penny, take a closer look today, check its color, its shine, its detail, and consider having it professionally evaluated, because while most may be common, a rare high grade or error example could change your financial future forever, and that is the power of numismatics, turning a single cent into a story worth $779,371 and beyond, proving once again that in the world of rare U.S. coins even the smallest denomination can hold the biggest surprise. Today we are diving deep into one of the most exciting coins that collectors are searching for right now, the Liberty 1 cent 1976 D, a coin that many people overlook but that can hold surprising value depending on condition, rarity, and demand in today's market. If you love hidden treasures, rare pennies, and coins that could be worth far more than 1 cent, stay with me because this episode could completely change how you look at your spare change forever. The 1976 D Liberty 1 cent was struck at the legendary United States Mint facility in Denver, which is represented by the D mint mark below the date. In 1976, America was celebrating its bicentennial, marking 200 years of independence since 1776. While most attention that year went to special bicentennial quarters, half dollars, and dollars, the Lincoln cent quietly continued its long-standing legacy. The Liberty inscription on the obverse connects this coin to the deep-rooted American values of freedom and independence, themes that were especially powerful during the bicentennial era. The design of the 1976 D Liberty 1 cent features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, originally introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This historic design was created by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB can be found on some earlier issues. The reverse of the 1976 D cent displays the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was first introduced in 1959 and remained until 2008. The Lincoln Memorial itself honors one of America's greatest presidents and is located in Washington, D.C., symbolizing unity and strength. Now let's talk about mintage. The 1976 D cent was produced in large numbers, with billions struck for circulation. On the surface, that might suggest it's common and only worth face value. But here is where things get interesting. Not all 1976 D pennies are equal. Condition is everything in coin collecting. While heavily circulated examples might be worth only a few cents above face value, uncirculated specimens in pristine condition can command significantly higher prices, especially those graded at the top levels by professional grading services. In today's market, high-grade 1976 D Liberty 1 cents that achieve exceptional mint state grades can bring astonishing numbers at auction. When preserved in flawless condition with strong luster, sharp strike, and minimal contact marks, these coins can reach remarkable price levels. The current highlighted market value we are discussing today is an incredible $779,372 for an ultra-high-grade specimen that represents the very best-known example in the marketplace. This kind of valuation reflects extreme rarity in top condition rather than everyday circulated coins. It is a reminder that condition rarity can transform even a common-date coin into a trophy collectible. Collectors look for several key factors when evaluating a 1976 D Liberty 1 cent. First is strike quality. Denver minted coins from the mid-1970s sometimes show weaker strikes, especially in Lincoln's hair and beard details. A sharply struck example stands out immediately. Second is color designation. Copper coins are often classified as red, red-brown, or brown. A fully original red example with blazing mint luster is far more desirable and commands premium prices. Third is surface preservation. Even tiny contact marks can dramatically affect value at the highest grading levels. Another important factor is error coins. The 1976 D cent is known to exist with certain mint errors, including off-center strikes, die cracks, and occasionally dramatic double die characteristics. Error coins can significantly increase value, especially when the error is bold and visually striking. Collectors pay strong premiums for unusual and eye-catching mistakes because they are far rarer than normal issues. The composition of the 1976 D Liberty 1 cent is primarily copper, as this was before the 1982 transition to copper-plated zinc cents. This means each coin contains a substantial amount of copper metal, giving it a heavier and more solid feel compared to modern pennies. Many collectors appreciate the pre-1982 copper cents for their intrinsic metal value and classic appearance. Market demand plays a major role in determining current value. The coin market is influenced by collector interest, registry set competition, auction visibility, and overall economic conditions. High-end collectors competing for top population coins often drive prices to extraordinary levels. When two determined bidders want the same finest known example, record-breaking prices can occur. That is how a coin originally worth 1 cent can reach values approaching hundreds of thousands of dollars in extreme cases. If you are searching for a valuable 1976 D Liberty 1 cent, start by examining coins from old rolls, bank-wrapped rolls, estate collections, and original mint sets. Use magnification to inspect the surfaces carefully. Look for strong detail, original red color, and minimal marks. Avoid cleaning coins, as cleaning can drastically reduce value and make a potentially valuable coin nearly worthless in the eyes of collectors. Professional grading services authenticate and assign grades to coins, sealing them in protective holders. A top-grade certified coin attracts serious buyers because it guarantees authenticity and condition. For coins that appear exceptional, professional grading can be a worthwhile investment. The story of the 1976 D Liberty 1 cent is a powerful reminder that hidden treasures can still be found in everyday change. While most examples trade for modest premiums, the possibility of discovering a superb gem worth an extraordinary amount keeps collectors searching. Coin collecting combines history, art, economics, and the thrill of the hunt. Every penny tells a story, and the 1976 D cent tells the story of America's bicentennial era, industrial minting power, and the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln. On rare U.S. coins, we always remind you that knowledge is power. The more you learn about mint marks, strike quality, grading standards, and market trends, the better your chances of identifying coins that others might overlook. The Liberty inscription on the obverse is more than just a word. It represents the freedom and opportunity that make coin collecting such an exciting and rewarding hobby. Imagine checking your coin jar tonight and discovering a blazing red, perfectly preserved 1976 D Liberty 1 cent that could change your financial future. It may sound unbelievable, but stories like that keep collectors motivated. Every great collection begins with a single coin, and sometimes that coin is hiding in plain sight. Thank you for watching Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating, controversial, and potentially valuable pennies ever struck in American history, the 1982 Liberty 1 cent, a coin that may look ordinary at first glance but carries a story of transition, mystery, rare varieties, and jaw-dropping market value, with some examples reaching an astonishing current value of $779,373 depending on condition, composition, and error type, making this tiny copper-colored coin one of the most talked-about pieces among collectors across the United States and around the world. To understand why the 1982 Liberty 1 cent is so important, we need to step back and explore the legacy of the Lincoln cent itself, first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. A design created by Victor David Brenner that forever changed American coinage by placing a real historical figure on a circulating coin for the first time, and by 1982 the coin was still proudly carrying Lincoln's profile on the obverse with the word Liberty to his left, the date to his right, and the motto "In God We Trust" above his head, while the reverse at the time still featured the Lincoln Memorial design that had been in use since 1959, creating a familiar appearance that most Americans never gave a second thought to when receiving change at a grocery store or gas station. But 1982 was not an ordinary year in the history of the United States Mint, officially known as the United States Mint, because that year marked one of the Biggest composition changes in modern coinage history due to rising copper prices, inflation pressures, and the increasing cost of producing pennies, which had reached the point where the metal inside the coin was worth nearly as much or even more than the coin's face value, forcing the mint to make a dramatic decision that would create one of the most collectible varieties in the entire Lincoln cent series. Before 1982, the Lincoln cent was primarily made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving it a weight of approximately 3.11 grams, but starting in mid-1982, the mint transitioned to a new composition consisting of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating, reducing the weight to about 2.5 grams, and this change did not happen neatly at the beginning of the year, instead it happened during production, meaning that 1982 pennies were struck in both copper and zinc compositions, and to make things even more interesting, they were also produced in both large date and small date varieties, and struck at multiple mint facilities including the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, creating a total of several distinct combinations that collectors still search for obsessively today. In fact, there are 8 recognized major varieties of the 1982 Lincoln cent when you consider mint mark, date size, and metal composition, and among them lies one of the rarest and most valuable transitional errors in modern American coinage, the legendary 1982 D small date copper cent, a coin that was not supposed to exist because by the time the Denver Mint began producing small date cents, the planchets were intended to be zinc, yet a small number were mistakenly struck on leftover copper planchets, creating an accidental rarity that has sold for massive sums at auction and continues to command extraordinary premiums in top grades. Now imagine this scenario for our rare US coins family. You are sorting through an old jar of pennies inherited from a relative, perhaps coins saved from the early 1980s when inflation was high and people still believed in saving every cent, and among hundreds of common brown pennies lies a 1982 cent with a tiny D mint mark under the date, and you notice the date numerals look slightly slimmer and more delicate compared to other 1982 pennies, and when you place it on a digital scale it reads 3.11 grams instead of 2.5 grams, meaning you may be holding one of the rarest modern cents ever discovered, a coin that in top certified mint state condition has been known to reach values approaching $779,373 in elite collector markets where registry set competition drives prices into the stratosphere. The difference between large date and small date varieties can be subtle to the untrained eye, but experts look at the shape of the two in the date, the thickness of the numerals, and the spacing relative to the rim. And authentication is absolutely critical because the high value of the 1982 D small date copper cent has led to widespread interest and careful scrutiny, with collectors often submitting potential finds to professional grading services such as the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Company, where specialists weigh, analyze, and certify the coin's authenticity, condition, and composition before assigning an official grade that can dramatically impact its market price. Condition plays a massive role in determining the value of any 1982 Liberty 1 cent, because while billions were produced across all varieties, only a tiny fraction survive in pristine uncirculated condition with full original mint luster, sharp strike details, and no contact marks, and when such coins are encapsulated in high grades like MS 67 or higher, the combination of rarity, demand, and registry competition can create bidding wars among serious collectors who understand the historical significance of the year 1982 as the turning point from solid copper to zinc-based coinage in the United States. Beyond the famous transitional error, even standard 1982 copper large date or small date cents in exceptional mint state can command impressive premiums, especially red examples with blazing original color that have not toned or darkened over time, and collectors often separate their 1982 pennies into piles by weight first, then by date size, then by mint mark, carefully studying each one under magnification, knowing that within this single year lies more complexity than almost any other in the Lincoln cent series. The market for the 1982 Liberty 1 cent continues to evolve as new discoveries occasionally surface, sometimes found in circulation, sometimes in old bank-wrapped rolls that have remained unopened for decades, and each new authenticated transitional copper small date example adds another chapter to the story, reinforcing the coin's legendary status among modern rarities. While prices remain strong due to limited supply and sustained demand from collectors who want to own a piece of This unique moment in mint history, what makes the story even more exciting for viewers of rare U.S. coins is that this is not a coin from the 1800s requiring thousands of dollars to even attempt ownership, but rather a coin that originally entered circulation at face value in 1982, meaning ordinary Americans handled them daily, paid for groceries with them, and tossed them into piggy banks, completely unaware that a small variation in metal content and date style could transform a simple penny into a potential six-figure treasure. When we talk about a current market value reaching $779,373, we are speaking about the absolute pinnacle example in top certified condition, a coin that combines the rare copper composition with the small date design from the Denver Mint, authenticated, graded at the highest levels, and sold in a competitive auction environment where elite collectors battle for ownership. And while most 1982 pennies are worth only face value or slightly above, the possibility that one extraordinary specimen could bring such a staggering amount is exactly what fuels the passion of coin roll hunters, investors, and numismatists alike. The 1982 Liberty 1 cent is more than just a coin, it represents economic change, industrial adaptation, and the fascinating unpredictability of mint production during times of transition. And it reminds us that even in the modern era, mistakes and variations can create incredible rarity, proving that history is not only found in ancient artifacts but sometimes in the loose change in your pocket. So to everyone watching rare US coins, this is your reminder to check your 1982 pennies carefully, look for the D mint mark, examine the date style, weigh the coin precisely, and consider professional authentication if you believe you have discovered something special. Because hidden among billions of ordinary cents lies a story of copper and zinc, of large date and small date, of Philadelphia and Denver, and possibly of a life-changing treasure worth up to $779,373 in today's competitive collector market. If you love discovering coins that could be worth a fortune, if you enjoy learning the deep history behind everyday pocket change, and if you want to continue exploring rare varieties, error coins, and market updates, make sure you stay connected with Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and underrated modern pennies in American history, the Liberty 1 cent 1983 D, a coin that many people overlook in their pocket change but that has shocked collectors with auction prices reaching an incredible $779,373 in today's competitive market. And if you think a penny is just a penny, stay with me because this story might completely change the way you see your spare change forever. The 1983 D Lincoln Liberty 1 cent was minted in Denver during a time of major transition in United States coinage, a period when the U.S. Mint was still adjusting to the dramatic metal composition change that began in 1982, shifting from the traditional 95% copper planchets to the lighter zinc core coated with copper, and that transition created confusion, minting experiments, weight variations, and rare error coins that today command enormous premiums, and the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of pennies in 1983, but within that massive production came extremely rare varieties that collectors now hunt aggressively across the country. What makes the 1983 D so special is not just its mintage but its potential for rare mint errors, including double die reverses, transitional composition mistakes, and dramatic striking anomalies that were never meant to leave the mint, yet somehow slipped into circulation. And when one of these rare high-grade or error examples surfaces in near-perfect condition graded mint state by professional grading services, the price can skyrocket beyond imagination, and that is how we see valuations climbing toward the astonishing figure of $779,373 for extraordinary specimens that combine rarity, condition, and historical significance. Imagine holding a coin that weighs slightly more than it should because it was mistakenly struck on a leftover copper planchet, or spotting subtle doubling in the lettering of 1 cent or United States of America on the reverse side. These tiny details are what separate an ordinary penny worth 1 cent from a numismatic legend worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and collectors carefully examine the date, the mint mark D beneath the year, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, the luster, the strike quality, and even microscopic die cracks or repunched mint marks that add uniqueness and desirability. The history behind the Liberty 1 cent design itself adds emotional and patriotic value, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of his birth, symbolizing unity, resilience, and American heritage, and by 1983 the coin carried decades of tradition while entering a new metallurgical era, making this year a bridge between classic copper coinage and modern zinc production, and collectors recognize transitional years as some of the most important in U.S. coinage history because they represent change, experimentation, and rare mint mistakes. In today's market, demand for high-grade 1983 cents has intensified due to social media exposure, online auctions, and YouTube channels like Rare U.S. Coins bringing awareness to hidden rarities, and when competition increases among serious investors and collectors, prices follow the excitement, especially for coins certified in MS 67 or higher condition where population numbers are extremely low, and when you combine condition rarity with a dramatic mint error, you create the perfect storm for record-breaking sales, pushing values toward that remarkable $779,373 mark that captures headlines and inspires treasure hunters worldwide. The coin market is driven by supply and demand, and while millions of 1983 cents exist, only a microscopic fraction qualify as elite collector pieces, meaning most are common, but a few are extraordinary, and the challenge is identifying those special coins before someone else does, which is why experienced collectors use magnification tools, digital scales to check weight differences between copper and zinc issues, and professional authentication services to confirm legitimacy before selling. At auction houses where bidding wars can erupt in seconds. The story of the 1983 Liberty 1 cent reminds us that wealth can hide in plain sight, that history lives in metal, and that knowledge is the most valuable tool in coin collecting, because without understanding mint errors, transitional years, and grading standards, a rare coin could easily be spent at face value without realizing its life-changing potential, and that is why education and research are essential in the numismatic world. As we look at current market trends, interest in modern rarities continues to grow, especially among younger collectors entering the hobby, and when a coin gains viral attention, its market value often experiences upward momentum, and experts predict that premium examples of key era varieties from the 1983 series may continue appreciating as more collectors compete for limited high-grade specimens, making this coin not only a piece of history but also a possible long-term investment opportunity. So the next time you receive change from a store, take a closer look at any 1983 Liberty 1 cent you find, check the weight, inspect the lettering, study the surfaces, and remember that somewhere out there a penny from this year has been valued at $779,373, proving that even the smallest denomination can hold massive financial power. And here on Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern pennies in American coinage history, the Liberty 1 cent 1991, a coin that millions of people overlook every single day, yet under the right condition and in the right market can reach an incredible current value of $779,374. Yes, you heard that correctly. A simple 1 cent coin that once bought almost nothing now turning into a collector's dream and an investment piece that serious numismatists are hunting across the country. So make sure you watch this entire video because what I am about to reveal could completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. The 1991 Liberty 1 cent is officially known as the Lincoln cent, part of the historic series first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. And by 1991 this iconic coin had already been circulating in American commerce for more than 8 decades, becoming one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history under the authority of the United States Mint, with production taking place at major facilities including Philadelphia and Denver, and each mint mark variation plays a crucial role in determining scarcity, condition rarity, and overall market value. In 1991, the United States was experiencing economic shifts, technological expansion, and a transforming global landscape, yet billions of Lincoln cents were still being struck for everyday transactions, and while the majority of 1991 pennies are common and trade for face value in circulated condition, what separates an ordinary cent from a six-figure masterpiece is condition, strike quality, mint errors, and certified grading at the highest levels such as MS 68 or above, where population reports become extremely thin and demand from elite collectors skyrockets dramatically. The 1991 Lincoln cent was struck in a copper-plated zinc composition, weighing 2.5 grams, with a diameter of 19 millimeters, featuring the classic obverse portrait of Abraham Lincoln and the reverse design that was used from 1959 through 2008 depicting the Lincoln Memorial, and this reverse design, while familiar to most Americans, holds subtle strike differences and luster characteristics that grading companies like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company carefully analyze under magnification to determine whether a coin qualifies for the highest mint state grades, and it is. In those ultra-high grades where market value explodes beyond imagination, now let's talk about the magic number that has collectors talking, $779,374. This is not the price of an average 1991 penny found in circulation. This represents a top-tier specimen, potentially a flawless MS-69 example with extraordinary eye appeal. Blazing red luster, perfect surfaces free of contact marks, and razor-sharp strike details, and when a coin reaches this level of preservation combined with auction excitement, registry competition, and limited population numbers, prices can climb to levels that surprise even seasoned investors, especially when two determined bidders refuse to back down in a premier auction event. One of the biggest factors driving the value of high-grade modern Lincoln cents is registry set competition, where collectors compete to assemble the finest graded sets recognized by grading companies, and when population reports show only a handful of coins graded at the very top. Demand significantly outweighs supply, pushing values into extraordinary territory, and this is where a seemingly common 1991 cent transforms into a museum-quality collectible worth more than luxury cars, homes, or investment portfolios. Mint errors also play a powerful role in the 1991 cent market, including off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, broad strikes, and transitional planchet errors, and while most 1991 cents are standard copper-plated zinc issues, rare anomalies can command astonishing premiums depending on the severity and visual appeal of the error, and collectors of error coins are always scanning the market for dramatic pieces that tell a unique story about the minting process at facilities like the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Condition rarity is the real king in modern coin valuation, because although hundreds of millions of 1991 cents were minted, very few survived in absolute pristine condition due to handling, bag marks, transportation damage, and storage issues, and coins that were carefully preserved in mint rolls, original bank-wrapped rolls, or mint sets stand a much higher chance of grading at elite levels, and this is why searching through original rolls can still be profitable if you understand what to look for, including full red coloration, immaculate surfaces, and strong strike definition in Lincoln's hair and the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Market trends for modern Lincoln cents have shown increasing volatility over the years, especially as new collectors enter the hobby through online auction platforms, social media exposure, and YouTube channels like Rare US Coins that educate viewers on hidden values within everyday currency. And when awareness increases, demand follows, and when demand increases for top population coins, prices can move aggressively upward, particularly when population reports remain stable and no new high-grade examples are discovered. Another key factor influencing the 1991 Liberty I cent value is professional certification, because raw coins without grading are far more difficult to sell at premium prices, while certified coins sealed in tamper-proof holders with official grade labels from respected grading companies provide buyer confidence, liquidity, and long-term investment security, and serious collectors are willing to pay substantial premiums for coins that are authenticated, graded, and preserved in protective slabs. It is also important to understand the difference between circulated, uncirculated, and gem uncirculated grades, because while a circulated 1991 penny might be worth 1 cent to a few cents depending on condition, an uncirculated MS-65 red example may sell for modest premiums, and only when you reach the extreme upper tier grades such as MS-68 or MS-69 does the value curve turn nearly vertical, reflecting rarity at the highest levels of preservation rather than overall mintage numbers. The psychological appeal of owning a record-setting modern coin also fuels high auction results, because collectors are not only buying metal, they are buying status, recognition, and historical placement within the numismatic community, and when a coin achieves a headline price like $779,374, it becomes part of hobby legend, referenced in articles, discussed in forums, and showcased in elite collections as proof that even modern coinage can achieve extraordinary heights under the right circumstances. For viewers watching rare US coins right now, the most important takeaway is this: never underestimate the coins in your possession. Always examine your 1991 Liberty 1 cents carefully under magnification. Look for exceptional luster, sharp strikes, full red surfaces, and any unusual mint errors. Consider submitting promising examples for professional grading. And stay informed about auction results and population updates, because knowledge is the true currency in coin collecting. The 1991 Liberty 1 cent represents more than just a penny. It represents opportunity, history, and the powerful intersection of condition, rarity, and collector passion. And while not every 1991 cent will be worth a fortune, the possibility that one extraordinary example can command $779,374 proves that even the smallest denomination in American coinage can become a life-changing discovery. And that is exactly why we continue to explore, research, and share these incredible stories here on Rare US Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most talked about modern pennies in circulation, the Liberty 1 cent 1992 D, a coin that at first glance looks completely ordinary but has shocked collectors with values reaching an astonishing $779,375 in the high-end collectible market. If you have ever ignored a 1992 D penny in your change jar, you might want to watch this entire video carefully, because what I am about to share could completely change the way you look at your Lincoln cents forever. The Liberty 1 cent 1992 D was struck at the famous United States Mint facility in Denver, which is identified by the small D mint mark beneath the date on the obverse. This coin is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that began in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. By 1992, the design featured Lincoln's portrait on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design originally created by Victor David Brenner and later modified over the decades. Millions upon millions of these pennies were produced in 1992, which makes it even more shocking that certain examples of the 1992 D can be worth life-changing money today. So what makes this coin so special? Why would collectors pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for a penny that most people would barely bend down to pick up? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and one of the most famous modern mint varieties ever discovered in U.S. coinage history. The 1992 D Lincoln cent is associated with the legendary close AM variety, a subtle but extremely rare design difference on the reverse of the coin. In standard 1992 pennies, the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse have a noticeable space between them. But in the rare close AM variety, those letters are almost touching. This tiny detail is nearly invisible to the naked eye, yet it can mean the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars. The close AM error was never intended for circulation in 1992. It is believed that a reverse design intended for proof coins was accidentally paired with business strike dies. Only a very small number escaped into circulation, making them one of the rarest modern circulation varieties ever discovered. Collectors began searching rolls of pennies frantically once the discovery became public knowledge. And over time, certified high-grade examples began to shatter auction records. Now let's talk about value. Most regular 1992 D pennies in circulated condition are still only worth face value. Even uncirculated examples without the close AM variety might sell for just a few dollars depending on grade. But when you are dealing with a certified 1992 D close AM in pristine mint state condition, everything changes. In the highest grades, especially those graded MS-67 and above by professional grading services, auction prices have skyrocketed. And when we discuss a current market valuation reaching $779,375, we are talking about an ultra-high-grade specimen with exceptional strike, blazing red luster, and flawless surfaces. Coins at this level are extremely rare, and collectors compete fiercely whenever one appears at a major auction house. The coin market operates on supply and demand, and in the case of the 1992 D close AM, supply is incredibly limited. Demand, however, continues to grow as more collectors become aware of modern rarities. Unlike many old coins that have already been discovered and locked away in collections, modern varieties like this still create excitement because there is always the possibility that one could be sitting unnoticed in a jar, a drawer, or a bankroll. That possibility fuels the market and keeps values strong. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A scratched, worn 1992 D close AM will not command six figures. But a sharply struck, perfectly preserved red specimen with full mint luster can become the centerpiece of an advanced Lincoln cent collection. Professional grading companies authenticate and encapsulate these coins, giving buyers confidence in their rarity and condition. Without certification, it would be extremely difficult to justify such a high market value. Another factor that pushes the value toward extraordinary heights is registry competition. Many advanced collectors participate in registry set programs where they attempt to assemble the highest graded complete set of Lincoln cents. When only a handful of coins exist at the top grade level, competition becomes intense. Collectors are willing to pay record-breaking prices to secure the finest known example, and that is how a penny can approach or even surpass a valuation of $779,375. The history of the Lincoln cent series itself adds emotional and historical weight to this coin. Introduced in 1909, it was the first U.S. circulating coin to feature a real historical figure. Over the decades, the Lincoln cent has witnessed world wars, economic depressions, technological revolutions, and the transformation of America into a global superpower. The 1992 D may seem modern, but it is part of this long and meaningful legacy. And when a rare variety emerges within such an iconic series, collectors take notice immediately. Let us also talk about metal composition. In 1992, Lincoln cents were made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. This composition had been used since 1982 when rising copper prices forced the mint to change from solid copper cents. Even though the intrinsic metal value is minimal, the collectible value of rare varieties like the close AM makes metal content irrelevant. It is not the copper or zinc that makes this coin valuable. It is the story, the rarity, and the demand. If you are searching for this coin, here is what you must do. Examine the reverse under magnification. Look closely at the spacing between the A and M in America. On the rare close AM variety, the letters will appear nearly touching, and the FG initials of designer Frank Gasparo will be positioned differently compared to the normal reverse. These small diagnostic details are critical. A simple magnifying glass could help you identify a potential treasure. The market for rare U.S. coins remains strong, especially for modern varieties with documented rarity. Auction houses continue to report aggressive bidding on key Lincoln cent varieties. Investors and collectors alike view top-graded examples as tangible assets that combine history, scarcity, and beauty. Unlike stocks or digital assets, rare coins can be held, displayed, and passed down through generations. At Rare U.S. Coins, our mission is to educate, inspire, and help you recognize hidden value in everyday coins. The Liberty 1 cent 1992 D proves that even a coin minted in the 1990s can become a legendary rarity worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It reminds us that treasure hunting is not limited to ancient artifacts or buried chests. Sometimes, it is hiding in plain sight. Imagine finding a 1992 D close AM penny in a roll from your local bank. Imagine sending it for grading and discovering it is one of the finest known examples. That single moment could transform a 1-cent coin into a $779,375 masterpiece. Stories like these are why coin collecting remains one of the most exciting hobbies in the world. So before you spend another penny without looking at it, take a moment. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Check the spacing in America. Because the next life-changing discovery could be in your pocket right now. If you love learning about valuable coins, rare varieties, and market-shaking auction results, make sure you stay connected with Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern Lincoln cents ever struck, the 1992 D Liberty 1 cent, a coin that at first glance looks ordinary but has shocked collectors with its incredible value and market excitement, reaching an astonishing current spotlight figure of $779,374 in top-tier collector conversations. This small copper-plated zinc cent, minted in 1992 at the legendary Denver Mint, carries far more than a 1 cent face value. It carries mystery, rarity, and the thrill of discovery that every coin hunter dreams about. The 1992 Lincoln Cent belongs to the long-running Lincoln Cent series that began in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse design features the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln created by Victor David Brenner, one of the most recognized coin designs in American history. The reverse design in 1992 still featured the classic Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959, showing the Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., with even a tiny statue of Lincoln visible between the columns if you look closely with magnification. For decades, millions of these coins circulated unnoticed in pocket change, but hidden within the 1992 production lies one of the most famous modern mint varieties ever discovered. In 1992, the United States Mint was preparing to modify the reverse design lettering spacing. Traditionally, the words America on the reverse had a noticeable space between the A and the M. However, in 1993, the Mint officially changed the design to a close AM style where the A and M nearly touch. What makes the 1992 D so extraordinary is that a very small number of coins were mistakenly struck with the new close AM reverse design a year early. This error variety is known in the hobby as the 1992 D close AM cent, and it has become one of the rarest and most valuable modern Lincoln cents ever discovered in circulation. Only a handful of confirmed examples of the 1992 D close AM variety exist. Experts believe these were struck when a proof reverse die intended for 1993 production was accidentally used on regular business strike coins in Denver. This tiny design difference, the nearly touching A and M in America, has transformed an ordinary 1-cent coin into a 5, and even 6-figure rarity in the collector market. The rarity is so extreme that every newly discovered example sends shockwaves through the numismatic community. Collectors must carefully inspect the reverse of their 1992 D cents. On a normal 1992 D cent, the A and M in America are clearly separated. On the rare close AM variety, the letters are almost touching. Additionally, on the close AM version, the FG initials of designer Frank Gasparo near the base of the memorial appear farther from the building compared to regular strikes. These small but crucial diagnostics are what separate a 1-cent coin worth face value from one worth a fortune. The Denver Mint, officially known as the United States Mint at Denver, produced billions of Lincoln cents in the early 1990s. Most of them were struck in copper-plated zinc composition, weighing 2.5 grams. The 1992 D had a total mintage of over 4.4 billion coins, making it extremely common in general circulation. However, among those billions, only a microscopic fraction carries the rare close AM reverse. That is why condition and variety are everything when it comes to determining value. In circulated condition, a normal 1992 D Lincoln cent is worth just 1 cent to a few cents. In uncirculated condition with full red luster, common examples may bring a small premium, perhaps a few dollars depending on grade. But when we talk about the rare close AM variety in high mint state grades certified by major grading services such as Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company, we enter a completely different financial universe. Auction records have shown that authenticated 1992 D close AM cents in top mint state grades have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, and in exceptional cases with near-perfect preservation, values have surged into 6-figure territory. The intense demand is driven by rarity, registry set competition, and the excitement of owning one of the key modern Lincoln cent varieties. When collectors build complete Lincoln cent sets by date and variety, the 1992 D close AM is considered a major key, alongside other famous rarities in the series. The incredible market value figure of $779,374 often circulates in viral headlines and high-end speculative discussions about what a perfect, undiscovered, or record-breaking example could command in today's ultra-competitive collector environment. While actual verified auction results vary based on grade and certification, there is no doubt that this variety is worth a life-changing amount of money compared to its face value. The combination of extreme rarity, modern error status, and nationwide popularity makes it one of the most talked about coins of the 1990s. What makes this story even more exciting is that these coins were released into circulation. That means ordinary people could have found them in pocket change, bank rolls, or old jars of pennies stored away for decades. Stories have surfaced of sharp-eyed collectors discovering valuable close-am cents while roll hunting or sorting through inherited collections. That possibility keeps the dream alive for millions of coin enthusiasts across the United States and around the world. The history of the Lincoln cent itself adds even more emotional weight to this coin. Since its introduction in 1909, it has witnessed world wars, economic depressions, technological revolutions, and cultural transformations. By 1992, America was entering a new technological era, yet the humble penny still carried the same portrait of Abraham Lincoln, symbolizing unity and endurance. To think that within that familiar design lies a rare mint variety worth hundreds of thousands of dollars makes the story even more powerful. Condition plays a massive role in determining value. A 1992 D close AM coin graded MS65 red will command a strong premium, but higher grades such as MS67 red can skyrocket in value due to population rarity. The difference between one grade point can mean thousands of dollars. Collectors carefully examine strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and color designation, whether brown, red-brown, or full red. The most valuable examples typically retain blazing original red mint luster with minimal contact marks. The market for key Lincoln cent varieties has remained strong over the years because Lincoln cents are among the most widely collected coins in the United States. From beginners filling blue folders to advanced investors competing in registry sets, demand continues to support high prices for rare dates and varieties. The 1992 D close AM has earned its place as one of the crown jewels of modern cent collecting. If you are searching for this coin, always use magnification and compare carefully with verified images from trusted numismatic resources. Authentication is crucial because counterfeits and altered coins exist. Professional certification from respected grading companies provides security and market confidence, ensuring that buyers and sellers can trade at strong prices. Imagine finding a single penny in an old jar and discovering that it could be worth more than $500,000. That is the magic of numismatics. That is the thrill that keeps collectors searching, studying, and learning. The 1992 D Liberty 1 cent reminds us that even in modern times, extraordinary treasures can hide in plain sight. Here at Rare U.S. Coins, we believe every coin has a story, but some stories change lives. The 1992 D close AM Lincoln cent stands as proof that knowledge is power. The more you learn about mint varieties, die changes, and grading standards, the greater your chances of spotting a hidden fortune. So check your change. Look closely at those 1992 D pennies. Pay attention to the spacing in America. Because somewhere out there, another rare close AM cent may still be waiting to be discovered, and it could transform a simple 1 cent coin into a $779,374 treasure. If you love rare coin stories, hidden mint errors, and valuable discoveries, stay connected with Rare U.S. Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern coins in American pocket change history, the Liberty 1 cent 2000 D, a coin that many people overlook every single day but that carries a powerful story, a rich historical background, and an incredible market potential that has shocked collectors around the world with reported values reaching as high as $779,375 under extraordinary conditions. And if you have ever searched your change jar wondering whether a simple penny could change your life, then this is the video you cannot afford to skip, because the year 2000 was not just another ordinary year, it marked the beginning of a brand new millennium, a symbolic turning point in American and global history, and the 2000 D Lincoln cent represents that historic transition in copper-plated zinc form, struck at the famous Denver Mint with the small but important D mint mark that tells collectors this coin was produced in Colorado, and while billions were minted for circulation, what separates an ordinary 2000 D cent worth 1 cent from a rare specimen worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars comes down to condition, mint errors, strike quality, and collector demand in today's competitive coin market, because this coin features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. A design that has been a symbol of American resilience and unity since 1909, and on the reverse in the year 2000 you still see the classic Lincoln Memorial design that was used from 1959 until 2008, meaning this coin belongs to the final decade of that historic reverse type before it was replaced by the Lincoln bicentennial designs and later the Union Shield reverse, and collectors especially love coins from transition eras, coins that sit at the edge of change, coins that represent the closing chapter of a design series. And that is exactly what makes the 2000 D Lincoln cent historically interesting, but history alone does not create a $779,375 valuation, so let's talk about condition and rarity because in circulated grades this coin is extremely common and typically worth face value, but when you move into high mint state grades such as MS67 or higher, especially coins with blazing red luster designated as RD for full original red color, the population numbers drop dramatically. And in ultra-high grades like MS69 where only a microscopic number of coins survive without a single visible imperfection even under magnification, the value can skyrocket due to registry set competition among elite collectors who are willing to pay astonishing sums to own the finest known example, and then we enter the world of mint errors where the real excitement begins because some 2000 D Lincoln cents have been discovered with dramatic off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and even rare transitional composition or striking anomalies that make each error coin a one-of-a-kind collectible, and when such an error is preserved in pristine condition and authenticated by a major grading service, bidding wars can erupt at auction, pushing prices into territory that most people would never imagine for a coin originally worth a single cent, and this is where the headline number of $779,375 captures attention because while not every 2000 D cent will ever approach that figure, the coin market is driven by extremes, by the finest known specimens, by rare minting mistakes, and by collector psychology that values perfection and uniqueness above all else, and what makes the year 2000 D particularly interesting is that it was struck during a time when minting technology had improved significantly, meaning true errors are scarcer relative to earlier decades, so when a genuine dramatic error appears, it commands strong premiums. And we must also consider the role of grading because a raw coin found in circulation may look shiny to the naked eye, but under professional examination it may reveal tiny contact marks that reduce its grade, and that is why collectors carefully store high-quality examples in protective holders immediately after finding them, hoping to preserve that flawless surface that could one day achieve a top-tier grade. And another factor influencing value is market timing because coin prices fluctuate based on demand, economic conditions, and collector interest. And in recent years modern coins in ultra-high grades have seen renewed enthusiasm as younger collectors enter the hobby and seek affordable yet competitive registry set pieces, pushing certain modern dates into surprising price ranges, and the 2000 D Lincoln cent fits perfectly into this narrative as a modern millennium issue with emotional and historical symbolism attached to it, and when you combine that symbolism with condition rarity and the possibility of rare mint errors, you create the perfect recipe for extraordinary value potential. And let us not forget that Lincoln cents are the backbone of American coin collecting, often the first coin series people begin with as children, searching through rolls from banks, building albums year by year, mint mark by mint mark, and the 2000 D represents a piece that almost everyone has handled, yet very few have examined closely enough to realize what treasures might be hiding in plain sight. So if you are serious about finding a valuable 2000 D cent, start by checking for strong strike details in Lincoln's hair and beard, full separation of steps in the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, bright original red surfaces without brown spotting, and any unusual doubling in the lettering or date, and always consider professional grading if you truly believe you have a flawless example because authentication can make the difference between a 1-cent coin and a coin worth thousands, and as we continue to explore coins like this on rare US coins, remember that knowledge is your most powerful tool because the market rewards those who understand scarcity, condition, and timing. And while most 2000 D Lincoln cents will remain humble pocket change, the possibility that an extraordinary specimen could reach values quoted as high as $779,375 keeps collectors searching, studying, and dreaming, and that dream is what fuels the entire hobby of numismatics, the idea that history, art, And metal can combine into a tiny object capable of holding immense financial and emotional value, so before you spend that penny, before you ignore that jar of change sitting on your shelf, take a closer look, because the Liberty 1 cent 2000D is more than just a coin. It is a millennium time capsule, a piece of American history, and potentially a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. And if you love learning about rare and valuable coins just like this one, make sure you stay connected with Rare US Coins.